What is up, YouTube? Robbie Vapes, and today is the day. That's right, today we do the head-to-head-to-head. We have the Subtank Mini, the Joyetech Delta 2, and the Magnus by Vapeston. All three of these are going to go head-to-head in 4 different categories. But before we get into that, I do want to do a quick shout out to Evolution Vape here in Calgary. These guys are phenomenal. I mean, really, their customer service, excellent. Their staff, extremely knowledgeable. And their environment that they built there is perfect. I mean, it really is. It's kind of the epitome of the vaping community. What I mean by that is they really do look out for their customers. I mean, they've got a lounge there, they've got games there, and you know, you can go in there, just vape, and you don't have to worry about feeling pressured into buying anything. That's the beauty of it. I can't resist, but that's just me. I definitely recommend you guys go check them out. Really solid store, very stand-up guys, and super friendly staff. I was in there about a week ago, and I walked in on this cloud chasing comp, or they were just, sorry, I was in there and the cloud chasing guys walked in, which they were doing an event later on, and I got the chance to talk to them, and even the guys there, I mean, at first I thought I was going to be intimidated, because I don't do cloud chasing. I mean, I do 0.2 ohm builds and stuff, which is as low as I go. I like the clouds, but I don't do competitions or anything like that. And these guys were amazing. I mean, everyone in there is friendly. The staff and the customers there are just amazing. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to them. Evolution Vape in Calgary. Great guys. No complaints ever with anything I've bought from there. They stand behind their products and cannot thank them enough. So just wanted to give them a quick shout out. Now, that being said, let's get into this. We have 4 categories to go over today. The first category is going to be vapor production and flavor. That's going to be one category. The reason I did one category is because it makes it more fair. Obviously, the Kangertech Subtank versus the Magnus on just vapor production alone, it's not a fair fight, let's be honest. This thing can go up to 150 watts. This thing pushes 25. Just saying. So we're doing to vapor production and flavor. We'll talk about the juices you can put in each of these. We'll talk about which one's more satisfying, which one I like more, for me personally, which one you guys might like more, things like that. So we'll get into that later on as well. The second category, by request, I definitely listen to my viewers, and by request, I'm going to do a second category on the up close. We're going to go up close on all 3 of these, and we're going to judge them based on the craftsmanship, the packaging, and the overall quality of the coils and the clear measures themselves. So we'll go into that separately. The third one, this one I am super excited to bring you. I don't think this has been done on YouTube yet. I don't think. I could be wrong. I haven't seen a video of it yet, but this is really important to me. Customer satisfaction, their customer service. I actually recorded a phone call from one of these guys because it was so good, and I'm going to share it to you with the customer service review component of this, so you guys can find out which one excelled and which ones kind of faltered a little bit and which ones, you know, had some issues and things like that. But we'll get into that later on. The fourth category and the final category is going to be price point and overall recommendation. So I'm going to talk about the price on each of these, and I'm also going to talk about which one I recommend for you, the viewers, and which one I personally crown the champion. So with that being said, let's get into the vapor production and the flavor. And we're going to start with the lowest one here, which is the Subtank Mini. I'm going to crank my Skelly Watt 150 all the way down to 23 watts, which I think is the ideal wattage for me personally on this device. So I'm just cranking it down here. And let's see, so we're at 24, let's see, 23 watts. Let's screw this on and see what it reads as voltage. And it should read as, I think it ends up reading as 0.6 ohms, but I think it's supposed to be a 0.5 ohm build. So there we go. So it's 3.7 volts, 0.6 ohms. I'm gonna hold this up to the camera real quick so you can see. Hopefully you can see that. So all these are going to be on the Skelly 150 watt. I'm using this one because it's the only way to fairly judge which one's the best. So with that being said, let's take a hit off the Kangertech Subtank Mini. Really nice flavor. Vapor production is not bad at all. This is a sub-ohm coil, very good. No complaints. All in all, I mean, it's a really satisfying vape, but it's not enough vapor for me personally, but the flavor almost makes up for it. It's a really nice flavor. One thing I forgot to mention is that all three of these have brand new coils in it as of yesterday. So I've been vaping them, you know, pretty much about the same for the last day or so to give them all equal wear. That way one didn't have an unfair advantage, another one didn't, things like that. So I'll take one more hit off this, show you the vapor production again, and here it is. Again, not bad flavor, no dry hits, no burning taste. 23 watts, I think for me personally is ideal. Let's talk about the downside. There is a big one. There's two for me. One of them is the fact that it only goes up to about 25 watts. I've seen people push up to 30. I can't. I get a burning taste at 30 watts. In fact, I start to get a burning taste at about 25 watts. So for me, that's the downside. Just for me. If you're vaping at under 30 watts anyways, you should be okay, especially in that 25 watt range. But again, it's not as warm as I'd like it. I don't like hot, I like warm though. Just my preference. The second downside, and this is a big one for me, being a dripper, I think I mentioned this in another video, all of my juices prior to going out and getting these tanks were very high VG concentrate. I've tried to put an 80-20 mix in this one, and it did not do so well. In fact, I got a lot of dry hits, even at 21, 20 watts. It just wasn't producing. It's a shame, but it is a downside for me. If you like those mixes of 50-50 or 40-60 or 60-40, in that middle range kind of thing, you're going to be fine with this. It's just, for me, I like a lot of VG in mine, the 80-20s and 90-10s, things like that. So it's a downside, but overall, it's not that bad. Let's switch it up for the Delta 2. And one thing while we're switching this up, I'm going to talk about real quick, is make sure if you get into any of these tanks, you have a proper battery to put them on. Do not try to use a cheap battery with these, because there can be consequences. I know it's in the media a lot lately of all the batteries exploding and things like that, and people are doing tests on them now. And I mean, that's fine, but for me personally, I can't say it enough. Make sure you have good batteries in your mods when you're using any of these three tanks. So with this one, we're going to crank it up to about 35 watts, give or take. Let's do 34, because that seems to be about the sweet spot with this one. About 34 watts is really nice vape. And let's take a hit off it. Very nice. Just so you can see, 34 watts is 4.1 volts. It's reading up 0.5 ohms. You can just see up here. Okay, let's take another hit, and then we'll judge the flavor and the vapor quality. Again, really nice flavor. Actually, really nice flavor. The vapor density is there. It's not quite as much as, say, an RDA or something like that, but I will give it credit that it's fulfilling. It's almost deceitfully fulfilling as well, because you don't expect that kind of vapor production to be as good as what it is. It hits, and it hits really well. I'm not talking about throat hitting, like it's not like a strong hit or anything like that. It's a very nice hit. This has got a 60-40 juice in it as well. And one thing I will say is that I did try and go to 90-10 on this one, and it did not handle it very well at high wattages. At about 30 or under, it was fine. But as soon as I got into like the 35 range, I was getting, I wouldn't say a dry hit, but it was almost like the vapor, or the liquid couldn't soak into the cotton fast enough to give me enough if I was chain vaping especially. If I do this, if I were to have the 90-10 in there and I take one toot at a time, like maybe one toot every 5-10 minutes, it was okay. But it needed that 5-10 minutes to really soak up the juice again. So it's a little bit of a downside. But again, I mean, 90-10 is pretty high mix for a clear miser. This can handle 80-20 pretty well. Same thing, you want to keep it about 40 or below for the 80-20 mixes. But for 70-30 mixes, 60-40 mixes of VG to PG, I mean, you you're okay to go up to 45, maybe even 50. It'll handle it. It's pretty good. Again, just make sure you have the proper batteries for it. Just saying. So with that being said, I mean, this one's a pretty good vape. It's very satisfying. I'm going to take one more hit off this one. Oh, what is not to love? Alright, now we're moving on to the Magnus. The Magnus is one of those clearimizers that is just insane. This thing is a beast. It can go up to 150 watts. It can do, you know, a lot of things that these other two can't. One of them being taking high VG concentrated liquids. Now, as long as you keep it under about 90 watts, you'll be fine. I did notice that in the 90-10 mix I have in here, it's actually starting to get a little bit of a dry hit at about 90 watts. Anything below that, you're perfectly fine. It's just, you want to make sure you have, like I find the ideal wattage for this one is about 65. So I'm going to crank it up to 65 right now. 65 watts, so we're at 65.8 watts. It is a 0.3 ohm coil and it's at 4.5 volts. 4.4 volts. So here it is, so you can see it. Trying to get in the camera there. So there it is. Now let's take a hit off this one and show you what it's like. Ooh, that is some good clouds right there. That is a good hit, and it's got really nice flavor in here. I'm using a new juice in here. I just picked it up. It's called Scorch V2. It's by BioVapes, and it's a strawberry and cream custard type mix with a little bit of like butterscotch in it. It's really good. Really, really good. Really enjoying it. So yeah, so I'm gonna take one more hit off this, and we'll just judge the flavor and the vapor production next. That is good stuff. So, how is vapor production? Well, you saw it. It's phenomenal. It is good, and that's only at 65 watts. You crank this thing up to 75, 80 watts, this thing will chuck vapor, no problem. It's a pretty solid clearimizer. Flavor-wise, it's good. It's really good, in fact. And the fact it can handle VG gives it a bit of an edge in the flavor department. That being said, you know, if you're going with the 60-40s or the 50-50s, the flavor is going to be a little bit better in something like the Delta II, especially the complex flavors. I talked about this in another video. You know, the Delta II really does bring out the undertones of flavors. This one you get a very strong flavor, and it's a very fulfilling flavor as well, but it focuses on the major parts of an e-juice, as opposed to the Delta II, which actually brings out the subtle notes of it. So, all in all, which one do I crown the winner for flavor and vapor production? For me, it's not going to be the Subtank. For you, it might be. For you, it might be. For anyone using an Aero tank or a Nautilus or something along those lines and want to get into the sub-ohm type tanks, this is a good start. It's a very good start. It's a very respectable tank. I don't want to discredit it for that. It's very good. Just make sure you do a lot of research on batteries. And even check out the Ohm's Law calculator. There's even videos on the Ohm's Law calculator on how to use it. I highly recommend checking it out if you're getting into any sub-ohm tank. But for you guys who want just a little bit more flavor or a little bit more vapor, and you want the flavor, this is for you. But it's not for me. Just my opinion. It comes down to these two, the Joyetech Delta 2 and the Magnus for me. This one's surprising because it's deceitful. It really is. But I have to give it to the Magnus just based on vapor production alone. This is the closest thing to dripping I've had in a clearimizer so far. It's a really nice vape. The flavor's there. You know, maybe it doesn't bring out the subtle notes as much as say the Delta 2 does, but it's still got the good flavor. So overall, the winner in this one is the Maganus by Vapeston, and it's a slight winner in this one. You know, the Delta 2 can definitely compete. So with that being said, we've crowned our winner for the vapor slash flavor category. Let's get up close and personal with these, and let's check out what's in the box and how they compare. Alright YouTube, we are now back. We're now going to get to the unboxing or the packaging portion of this. We're going to get up close at each one of these, check out which one has nice packaging, what each one comes with. Just give you a quick idea. What we'll do is we'll start with the Kangertech Mini. And this is the packaging, comes with really nice packaging, gotta say. Comes in a little sleeve, you pull it out. All you have to do here is pull this out, kind of like a little drawer. This is where the clear miser would be. What we do next is we lift this up. And as you can see, it's a little bit tough to get out. Sorry, I bumped my camera a little bit. Okay, first thing you get is with the RDA, you also get some cotton. This is some Japanese cotton in here. Nice that they included that. You also get a little instruction manual. Make sure you drip, oh, it's upside down. Make sure you drip in your atomizer prior to using it, or make sure you juice your wicks a little bit. Another little manual here as well. Just a little user guide, real quick user guide, nothing too crazy. And you get your little product card as well. Down below you get some spare O-rings. You also get a screwdriver, some spare screws, pre-built coil, not too bad, and you get an extra coil head. You also get the RDA in here, which I took out, and then of course you get the Clearo tank as well, the spare Clearo tank. So pretty nice they included that. So that is what you get with the Kangertech Subtank Mini. Let's move on here. I'm just going to push this all to the side. I'll clean it up later on. Get all this stuff out of the way and move on to the next one. Next up we have the Joyetech Delta 2, and let's see what we get in the box here. This one's a very simple box. You get a bunch of packaging that comes out right away. A little information card, a little user manual. Pretty straightforward, nothing to it. Front and back. Again, make sure you prime your wicks first before using. You get your little barcode here. And you get the clear miser and a spare coil head as well. So that's pretty much what you get in the packaging for this. Very straightforward. There's no extra tank. There's nothing beneath here. So you get 2 coils and the tank itself and some user manuals. But really that's all you really need for these. You know, the RDA component is separate. I did an unboxing video in my Delta 2 review, so I won't do it in here. I don't want to take up too much time. Moving on, finally we have the Maganus. And this packaging comes in, reminds me a lot of like an iPod or an iPhone case. Very much the same format. Just take a quick 360, open her up. First thing you get is the clear miser, that would be in here. If you take this box off, down below, this is where you get the spare tank and spare coil head. You can see this one's actually pretty dirty, but you can just see in there. And then you get your little user manual at the bottom here. So some specs, how to use it, make sure you prime your wicks again, although this one does wick itself pretty well. Same thing, some features, some notes, pretty basic but pretty nice setup actually, I like it. So let's just put this all back together real quick and we'll move it off to the side. Alright, now let's get up close and personal with each of these. Again, we'll start with the Kangertech Subtank Mini. This is a clear miser here. You can see it's pretty straightforward, 510 drip tip, which is pretty important because I think that's nice, you can change out your tip. Same thing, the red O-rings are a really nice touch. I like this color, some people don't. And it's appearing almost orange on my camera, so hopefully you guys can tell it's red if you guys haven't seen it. You have your 1 airflow here, a little bit of a complaint for me because I do like better or more airflow. And the fact it only has the 1, not my favorite feature, but you can also adjust it. So you have 2 smaller airflows, or you can go down to 1 airflow, and I think you can actually close it off in total yet, so that right there you have no airflow going in. I like it wide open, so I'm going to leave it like that. So that's the outside of it. Let's take a look inside, and we're going to actually fill this thing up and show you how easy it is to fill, because that's a huge feature. Oh, and also, just really quickly, this is the connection pin down here. Nothing too special there. So let's take it apart. And let's start with the coil head itself. In here you can see the coil head. What's really nice about these, whether they intended to or not, is you can actually change out the cotton in here. Again, I'm struggling to get a little bit of light in there, but hopefully you can see the coil in there. So to change it out, all you have to do is pull it out from one side over here. You take out the cotton and just push some more back in, roll it up really fine, just thread it through, and you can actually change it out pretty easily. So that's a nice added feature. Again, whether they intended it or not, my guess is they probably didn't, because it costs them money in the long run on coils, so there'll be less coils to buy. But it is actually a nice feature, nonetheless, whether it was intentional or not, that you can change out the cotton in this, because the other two you definitely cannot. But yeah, so that's the coil head. Pretty straightforward. 0.5 ohm coil. And that's pretty much it. So let's move on to the actual clearomizer tank itself. You can see here, really nice drip wells down here, super easy to fill. I'm gonna grab my bottle of e-juice I have off to the side, and let's fill it up and show you just how easy it is to fill. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm gonna try and go for the back. I'm doing this on camera, so I don't know how easy it's gonna be. Oh, I'm in the way, sorry. So you can see here, I'm just going right here, and it is super easy to fill. Sorry, I'm losing focus here a little bit, but you can see it coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. And just like that, we're filled. And it fills really nicely. It fills up relatively full. You can see here, plenty of room there, really easy to fill. That's a nice feature as well, so I do like that. Screw this back on. And there you have it. That is the Kangertech Subtank Mini up close. Let's move on to the next one, which is the Joyetech Delta 2. Get up close with this one. Again, really nice. A couple complaints right off the bat that a lot of people have had is these windows here, or the bars here. You can kind of see your juice in there, but only barely. You kind of have to tip it a little bit to see what level you're at. It does have a 510 drip tip connection, which is really nice as well. You can change it out. The drip tip, which I think I forgot to mention in my review video, is this is Delrin insulated. However, it does seem to be a little bit hot. This drip tip does get a little bit hot at around 40 to 45 watts. Just a warning for anyone looking at it. Doesn't make a huge difference for me. I just replaced drip tip with one of my Delrin ones, and there's no problem. Moving on to the airflow, you can see these really small airflow holes, and these are actually very deceiving. You get a lot of airflow through this. I was surprised because I saw these, and these are very, very small. And yet the airflow you get, it's pretty good. Same thing down here, you have your connection, your 510 connection. Not much more to talk about on the outside, so let's unscrew it, look at the coils, and then we'll look at the how to fill it as well. And this one's a little bit trickier. I'm not even sure I'll be able to do it on camera, to be honest. It's a little tricky. Let's put the tank off to the side. Here we have the coils, and I'm gonna see if I can get in there. You can kind of see it. I mean, it's not great, but you can just see in the inside, it's kind of a vertical wrap or a vertical coil. You do have the adjustable juice channels on here as well, which is really nice. So you can just twist this, actually, sorry, let me see if I can. So you can twist it to decide how much juice you want going in. I do suggest if you're using a more runny juice, like a 50-50 blend or higher for PG concentrate, you'll want to twist it a little bit. I like it about right there for a high PG blend, but high VG you definitely want to open all the way. And again, the only downside is it doesn't really seem to handle like 80-20s, 90-10s very well. So that's a little bit of a downside, but anything below that for the VG to PG ratio, you're pretty good. But yeah, that's the coil down there. Let's move on to the tank itself, and here's where we start to see just how tight it is against the wall. You can kind of see it in the back there. It's pretty tight. It's not the worst though. So what I'm gonna do is try and fill it for you guys on camera. See if I can't get this. Again, I'll try and go from the back here. I don't know if I'll be able to do it without dripping and making a mess. So all we want to do, we want to get it really tight against here and basically just start dripping right down against the edge. And you can see here, nothing's going over, which is nice. And that's basically how you fill it. So I think it's actually relatively full, so I don't want to fill it too much, but again, right against the edge, drip in, you can see nothing gets down that the center hole. So yeah, so that is the Delta 2. Let's move on to the Maganus. Let's screw this thing back together. One thing I will say on the Delta 2 that some people have said is a bad thing, for me it's not really huge, is this top part doesn't come apart. So to clean out your canister, if you're changing up juices, you'll basically just have to rinse it out through this part. You won't be able to go fully take it apart and have each section rinsed out thoroughly. Not a big deal for me, but for some people it's a pretty big deal. Just saying. So put that off to the side. And we're moving on to the Maganus. So here's the Maganus. First thing you point out is the airflow. I mean, this thing is a beast for airflow. However, ironically enough, the Delta II performs almost as good as this one with a quarter of the size of the hole, so that's kind of cool. You can see there's a little stopper here, so that protects you from over adjusting. So you can go closed, you open it up a little bit more, and it's very clicky, as you can hear. Very easy to adjust, very nice big adjustable ring, which is nice. It's really easy to adjust because it's so big. Drip tip is not a 510 connection, which is a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit bigger, so I can't use this tip on anything else, but it is very nice. It's a wide bore drip tip. It works for me. I like it myself. I don't know what it actually measures out at, but yeah, it's not 510 for sure. You can see in there. So unfortunately I can't use other drip tips with it, but this one works perfectly. I don't need to, so just me. You have the connection pin down here. I'm sorry it's so dirty. I've been using this quite a bit. And there's a few flaws I pointed out in my review video on this, and I will say this, they actually took the time to respond to my YouTube video and tell me that the flaws were being fixed. This was actually a pre-production model or something like that. The newest version, or the V2, or not even the V2, but the production model will actually be addressing these issues. One of them is the fact that it does create a lot of air bubbles. You can even see right there. There's a massive air bubble right down there. And it will stay there for a while. So you have to make sure that you are keeping an eye for air bubbles. And it's pretty easy to go through. It's not too bad, but if you get an air bubble, it will give you a dry hit. So just keep an eye on that if you do get this tank. The next thing is the filling of it. These things are very tight against the wall. You can see just how easy they create air bubbles there. And that's because they're so tight against the wall. Like I said, this will be fixed. They're also changing out the connection pin. I believe they're changing it from nickel to stainless, or vice versa. I can't remember which one. I have to apologize, but they're changing it out. It's supposed to be better. I don't know, to be honest, myself, but it's kind of nice that they're addressing some of these issues that people are bringing up. Let's look at the coil first and put that off to the side. Here's the coil. This one we can see very well. It is a dual wrap coil, so you can see the two leads right there. All organic cotton, but again, you can't change this out yourself. If you can, good for you. I definitely will have no chance at doing it, so just me. You do have these pretty big juice channels here, or juice holes here to soak up in the cotton. Really nice overall design, can't complain, and that's pretty much the coil there. I'm not taking any of these coils apart because I'll be honest, they're expensive, and I don't feel like doing that or going out and buying a whole new pack of these just yet, at least until I determine which one I'm going to be vaping on the most. Okay, so here we have the channel. You can see just against that little window there, that little hole, that's where you're going to fill it up. And with this one, there is a trick to it. So I found a trick because I'm a lazy person and I don't like waiting, 3 minutes to fill something up. So all you do is you take your little dripper, or if you're using a nozzle end of a juice container or whatever, or of an e-juice container, all you do is do that. You can see right here, it's tight against the corner here, and we're just going to squeeze it down through, and watch this. So I've now refilled it, and there's no more juice in there than there was before. Now there was some in there before. Worst case, all you do is take a little paper towel or something, or towelette or something, and just clean in the inside of it, just so you don't get any juice. But honestly, for that amount, it's not that bad. You can also just tip it over a little bit, and all that juice should run into that little window there, and then it should be relatively good after that. So yeah, some of my only complaints, like I said, it was a little bit tight in there. They are fixing it apparently, so that's going to be nice. Even if they just removed it so I could fill it up from either end, it would be nice. But again, the air bubbles is a bit of a pain. Just keep an eye on it. And that is that. So the question is, which one wins on craftsmanship? Let's not forget, this one can handle high VG juices. The other two cannot. This one has, this is like an 80-20 mix, and to be honest, it looks a lot thicker than that, as you can probably see. It is not, it's just really thick. And that's my favorite e-juice right now, by the way. Shout out to Cowtown Juice. I'll be doing a review on this here soon. These guys are amazing. I definitely recommend checking them out. Anyways, so the question is, which one wins? Let's see if I can get them to stand up for me here, all in front of the camera. Okay, so for me personally, the Kangertech is eliminated in this round. It may not be for you, but for me it is, just because it can't handle the high VG juices. If you're okay with that, then, and you're okay with a little bit less vapor production and a lower wattage, it may work for you guys. So it really comes down to the Delta II and the Maganus. Which one wins? This one was deceiving because I like the airflow in this one a lot. I like that it has a 510 drip tip connection. That's a very nice feature. But these window slants here, they are getting harder for me to see. It's almost like they're clouding up the more I use it. So I'm having a hard time getting to see how much juice I have left. The Magnus, on the other hand, I mean, right here, look, you can already see the bubble. It's literally, I just put it down and there's already bubbles forming. So, I mean, that's a big downside. But again, they're fixing it in the next version or in the production version. So hopefully you don't have that issue. For me personally, I like the fact I can change up the drip tip on this. But ultimately, I like higher VG concentrates more. So the winner goes to the Magnus in this round. Just slightly, and I mean very slightly. So yeah, so that is the up close and personal. Let's take it back, and then we're actually going to look at the customer service side of all three of these. And let's find out who wins that one. So now that we've done the up close and personal, let's move on to my favorite category. The one that I really think is a little bit unique, and maybe it's just me. Again, I haven't seen this on YouTube yet, but the customer service aspect. I called in with the exact same problem for all three of these clearomizers, okay? And of all three of them, one of them stood out the most. I recorded the call on it, and I'll play that later on so you can hear it. Let's get into the customer service of each of these. Before we start, I do want to say I had the same issue for each of them, according to the customer service department at least. Obviously, all three of these tanks work fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But I wanted to have an issue that was possible to have and, you know, could appear or could end up happening to any one of you guys watching this. And also was I was gonna be able to avoid sending in pictures and things like that. Like if I were to claim something was damaged or something, I'd have to send pictures to prove it. I wanted to make it something that they couldn't just see a picture of and know right away if I was lying. Because obviously I was lying for each of these customer service reviews. So the issue I had, or the issue that I said I had, was that the firing pin was not working. I told them I had tried different mods, I had tried changing the coils out, I had tried cleaning the pin, but it just wasn't working for me. So I called up each of these guys, and I'm going to start with the Magnus on customer service. Now, I have to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in the customer service for the Magnus. However, it might have been my fault. So I don't want to put the blame on them completely, because a few things happened that kind of caused the issues or the issues in customer service I experienced. For one thing, the number on their website, and maybe they have a North American number, I couldn't find one. I could only find a number that was an international number, I believe in China somewhere. I tried calling it, and in their defense, I found out that both my work phone and my cell phone could not do international calling. And, you know, the argument is a lot of people aren't going to be able to do international calling here who are watching these videos. So in all fairness to you guys, you'd probably have the same experience that I did. So to give him another chance, I tried sending him an email. And to make sure I was completely invisible to who I was, I actually used my work email. And it got blocked. I got return to sender on all three email accounts they list. Again, it could have been my work email, so I don't want to discredit them too much on that. I know I'm kind of going easy on them, but there's a reason for that. I mean, I'll get into that a little bit later on, but you know, it's hard to fault them for something like a work email or, you know, not being able to call their number. It's partially on me, partially on them, 50-50, right? That being said, they also have a form on their website you can fill out. I filled out the form to try and submit the complaint or the issue, and I actually got an error message back. The error message was in, I believe, Chinese. I had to Google Translate it. It ended up reading something like illegal form fill, your IP address has been recorded or something like that. So, you know, another downside. But I do want to talk about the good in the Magnus, especially from a customer service perspective. The upside to this and to these guys, in their credit, they've done a few things that no one else has. They subscribe to my channel, which is, you know, I don't want to be biased, but it's a nice thing when, you know, I'm a nobody and these guys are subscribing to my channel, they're sharing my review on this. I mean, those things, they may not seem like customer service, but in a way they are. I mean, they're looking out for little guys like myself. So I really appreciate that. That being said, I was a little disappointed in the actual contact methods they had. Again, you know, I don't want to defend them, but they did have a site outage just before I emailed them. It could have been related, I don't know. I emailed them at like 12 o'clock my time, which is Mountain Standard Time, which would have been 2 o'clock p.m. their time. And I wanted to do that on purpose, try and get them during their business hours, but I couldn't get a hold of them. Maybe they operate on North American hours because it doesn't really specify what time zone they're actually operating on. I don't know for sure, but I'm just going to say that overall, you know, 50-50, right? Whose fault was it? You know, you decide. Maybe you've had different experience with them, and if you have, you know, definitely share it below in the comments if you've had a better success than I did. Moving on, we're going to skip the Delta 2 because that is the one I had the phone call on. As I knock over the Vapeston, we're going to move on to the Kangertech Subtank Mini. They do have a 1-800 number. I called it. The first 2 times I called, I got a voicemail, which is fine, but I wanted to get a live person, so I tried a 3rd time and did get a hold of someone. Very nice person, very easy to talk to. She was not rude or anything like that, very friendly. I gave her the same issue I had, went through the whole spiel, you know, try different tanks, try different coils and everything like that, and nothing worked. And she did tell me at the end of the phone call that unfortunately they don't do any shipping to Canada, so I'd have to go, and she gave me an email address to actually contact. I didn't contact the email address, there was no point at that point. I got what I needed from it. So the end result of this Kangertech Subtank is that I'm assuming if you're in the States, they would have replaced it, no questions asked. I mean, it sounds like she was about to do it until she found out I was from Canada, which is fair. I mean, I can't fault her for that. There is obviously customer service email you can use to contact them if you have any issues. And overall, I wasn't devastated by the result. It was a bit of a downside they don't ship to Canada, but again, I mean, customs and things like that, I can't blame them. So it didn't do too bad overall. The Kanger, it did reasonably well. But unlike the Joyetech 2, this thing was phenomenal. I'm not even going to talk about this. I'm going to let you guys listen to the actual call I had with them, and I'll let you be the judge of how good their customer service is. So check this out.
Thank you for calling Joyetech USA.
Oh, hi there. I just actually bought one of the Delta 2s, and I seem to be having some issues with it. For some reason, the connection pin isn't really reading anything. I've tried it on a couple devices and can't seem to get it to work.
Okay, for which device again? The Delta 2?
Yeah, Delta 2, yeah.
Okay. And does not seem to fire any of that?
No, I've tried cleaning it. I just bought it a couple days ago, and just it doesn't seem to be working on the device for some reason. I'm using 2 different devices. I have the iStick 50 watt and the Sigeli 100 watt plus.
It's not working for both of them. Where'd you purchase the Delta 2 from?
It was purchased here in Calgary, so from a vape store here in Calgary.
Okay, and have you tried contacting them or going back to the store where you purchased it from to see if they're able to replace it for you?
I did, yeah. So they actually said that, they tried to fix it themselves, and they said they couldn't do anything, and they asked me to call you guys directly.
Okay. All right. So since you did not purchase directly with us, I'm going to go ahead and send you out a return label.
Okay, that's great.
I mean, a return label. No, I'm going to go ahead and send you out a form I would need you to fill out in order for us to start an RMA process for you.
That is perfect. And I just actually want to let you know this was actually a test call. I wanted to see the customer service, how it was like, and you guys passed with flying colors. I love my Delta 2, and I couldn't be more happy with it.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
All right, guys, so that was a call with Joyetech. As you can tell, I was extremely satisfied. I mean, I was trying not to get too excited with it. At the very end of the message, of course, I told them, you know, this was also a test, and I just wanted to see how their customer service was, and they passed. I mean, it blew me away how good they were. They were ready to ship me out another one pretty much. I mean, it was just fill out a form and, you know, send it in and we'll take care of it. And I mean, that's the kind of customer service you really do look for in a device. And they exceeded it. They did everything I'd hoped for and then some. Really nice. and it's what you want from a customer service representative. That's exactly how you want to be treated. So with that being said, I think the obvious winner for customer service goes to Joyetech. They did a phenomenal job. I cannot praise them enough. You know, I really cannot praise them enough. They are phenomenal to deal with. Just from my one experience. Now, I don't know if I would have filled out the form had I had a different experience. I don't know what would have happened after that. I'm making assumptions here. But again, I don't want to drag these things on too long. I really haven't had any issues with any of these tanks, and keep that in mind. There's no issues with any of the tanks. I've had nothing but success with all three of them. Just keep that in mind when you're watching this and make decisions for yourself. But again, Joyetech, kudos to you guys. I mean, live person right away. That's one thing I forgot to mention. There was no sent to voicemail. There was no on hold. Actually, I think I was on hold for about 15 to 20 seconds. Like, it was nothing. Phenomenal customer service. Phenomenal. So kudos to you guys, Joyetech. You guys are doing it right. Keep it up, and I'll be buying more of your products for sure. All right, so we've talked about customer service. We've got up close and personal with these guys, and we've also talked about vapor production. What's left? The price and recommendations. The price on all three of these. So I'm going to bring this Magnus out again. So the price on the Magnus is the most expensive. It's $60. But for what you're getting a 0.25 ohm clear miser. It's not that bad. Sure, I can get some RDAs for cheaper than that, but overall, $60 in the grand scheme of things. I think it's 45 or 40 in the States. It's not a bad price. The Delta 2 at $40, great price as well. However, it doesn't come with an RBA component. That being said, neither did the Magnus, but it does have an RBA component available for an extra $20. Or I think it's 15 in the States actually. So again, I'm trying to do 15, or I'm trying to do Canadian and US prices here. I'm just ballparking it here, so don't blame me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's a really good price. Even with the RBA component, it's not bad. You know, what more is to be said? Then you have the Subtank Mini, and this thing is a great price. It's $40. It includes the RBA. You know, in the States, I think it's like $30. Like, it's really cheap. And for that price, you really can't go wrong, especially the fact that it includes an RBA. That being said, which one is recommended for you, the viewers? So this is before I release my personal winner. This is which one I think certain people will like more. The Kangertech Subtank. Who's going to like this? In all honesty, people who are using like the Nautiluses, the Pro tanks, you know, the Aero tanks, things like that, and you want to get a step up in where you're going next, you want a little bit more vapor, maybe you're looking for a little bit of sub-ohming, you've done your research, you know how to get a safe battery, things like that, but you want to go a step up, I really do think this is for you guys. Oh, I'm knocking everything over again. This is not good. Alright, we should be okay. Sorry. So, this is for you guys. This is for you, the viewers, who are looking for that intro step into sub-ohming, and you've done your research. Keep in mind, please do your research. I don't want to hear about someone buying this and putting it on some, you know, cheap battery that just blows up or something, or burns, or something happens to it. Just please do your research if you're going to get this. But if you are a beginner and you are looking to get into sub-ohming a little bit, this is for you. Next, the Delta 2. Who is this for? This covers a wide range. It's not for beginners. Let's start with that. It's really not. I know it's a Clearo tank as well, and I mean, it's also the RBA, but it's not for beginners. I really think with this one, you're going to want to be more of an intermediate type person. You know, you might be going from another sub-ohm tank. You might be going from an RBA, like a rebuildable bottle atomizer or tank atomizer, and you're going to be wanting to go to this. Maybe this is something you can do without dripping and driving. It's a pretty good alternative, and it's very satisfying, as I mentioned before. I cannot stress that enough. It's very satisfying. Even some drippers are going to like this, especially if you build, you know, the 0.4 to 0.8 ohm builds. I think this is for you. It's a really good mod. It's a really good clear miser, not mod. The Magnus, who's this for? Honestly, what more can I say than this is for drippers? This was a clear miser that was built for drippers, plain and simple. The fact it can take up to 150 watts, the fact that this thing can take the high VG liquids, the fact that this thing, you know, is just so powerful. It's perfect for you guys. Is it for beginners? No, definitely not. You want to do a lot of research on batteries, on mods, on coil builds, things like that. You want to make sure you know what you're getting into before you purchase this. That being said, now that I've told you which one I recommend for each, I have to go into which one I think I would use more and which one I actually have been using more. Trying to put all the categories together, you know, keep in mind Joyetech's customer service, phenomenal. I gotta give them another shout out for that because it was above and beyond. It really was. The Subtank, again, a great flavorful vape, just not quite enough vapor for me. And the Maganus, great vape, a little bit higher price. The customer service, I had some issues personally, just me. Maybe you've had different experiences. Like I said, if you have, let me know. But for me personally, which one do I take? I have to eliminate the Kangertech Subtank. I really feel like it just isn't for me. It's good. I'll still be using it occasionally, but the two I'm going to be using most are going to be these two, the Delta 2 and the Maganus. Now the question is, which one am I going to use more? Trying to put this review into perspective and trying to go over all the categories, it's tough. I mean, a lot of things come into consideration at this point. Not just, you know, the vape quality and the production, the flavor and things like that. I have to go with my personal preference. For some reason, I just keep going back to it. And it wins only by a hair. I mean, this was a close matchup, guys. Between these two, you will be happy with any of these tanks, really. But in particular, if you're a dripper, I really think you'll be happy with either one of these two. You will not be disappointed with either one of these. If you go out and purchase one of them today, go ahead. If you have the money, get both of them, because I think you'll use both of them. I really do. But which one do I pick? I have to choose. I have to go with the Maganus. It gets a slight win over the Joyetech. With everything I've just said, I know it sounds crazy to pick this one, but there's something about it that I just cannot, I can't put this thing down. It's so good. You know, it's almost to the point where it's getting to the point where I'm almost replacing my RDAs with this. It is amazing. It's everything I wanted in a clear miser. This is what I'm so happy I got this. I'm happy I got all three of them, to be honest. I'm so happy I got all three of them. But this one does win by a hair. So there you go, guys. That's my choice. The Maganus by Vapeston wins it by a hair. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of these and which one's your favorite, or if you have another one that you've tried that maybe wasn't on this review. Let me know. I'm going to try to avoid the sub-ohm tanks for a little while. I actually just picked up an RDA. I'm going to do a second video here over the weekend and hopefully get it out to you guys. It's going to be a review on a new RDA I got. I'm going to try and do a build on that one as well. It's a new build I'm working on. I don't know how well it's going to be. I don't know if anyone's done it before. I don't watch a lot of build videos, to be honest. I do my own builds, and if they work, they work, and if they don't, I scrap them. That simple. So stay tuned for that one. It's coming up in the next couple days, and in the meantime, let me know what you think of this video. And again, I cannot thank you guys enough for watching. So until next time, YouTube, happy vaping.